John was 53 when he did the thing his friends told him no man his age should ever do. He walked away from the job he had built for 30 years, from the six-figure salary, from the title that had once meant something. To everyone around him, John had won the game. A good career in finance, a house in the suburbs, 2 cars in the driveway. His children grown, his mortgage nearly gone. If he stayed put, he could retire in 12 years and live comfortably until the end. That is what his colleagues said. That is what his wife believed. That is what his neighbors admired. But John felt something different when he woke up each morning, a weight in his chest, the sense that he was trading years of his life for nothing that mattered. Meetings filled with jargon, numbers that never ended, targets that fed shareholders but starved his soul. He carried the thought silently for years until it became unbearable. One evening, after another long day of pretending, John sat across the dinner table from his wife and told her he was done. He was not retiring. He was not waiting. He was leaving now to start a project no one else believed in, a small workshop to teach young men skills he wished he had learned when he was their age. The reaction was immediate and brutal. His wife thought he had lost his mind. His friends laughed and said he would be crawling back within 6 months. Former colleagues called it a midlife crisis. His grown children asked why he would throw away everything he had worked for. And then came the silence. No more invitations, no more calls. The man who had once been respected was now a cautionary tale. The months after were harder than John ever imagined. The workshop barely paid the bills. He moved into a smaller house. He spent nights awake wondering if he had ruined not just his career, but his family. Some mornings he stared in the mirror and asked the same question again and again. Am I a fool? Did I destroy everything for nothing? And yet, through the pain, something else began to appear, a sense that for the first time in decades, his days were his own. A fragile pride that he had chosen a road most men would never dare to walk. Nietzsche believed this is where transformation begins, not in comfort, not in applause, but in the lonely silence of a man who dares to leave the road everyone else stays on. Most men who leave the safe road never do it lightly. They do it because something inside them refuses to stay silent. Friedrich Nietzsche understood that impulse more than most. He was not a man who preached comfort. He was a man who believed that life, at its deepest, demanded risk, demanded courage, and demanded pain. Nietzsche lived in the 19th century, but his voice speaks uncannily to men like John today. He wrote about what he called the will to power, not power over others, but power over yourself. The inner drive to rise, to overcome, to create meaning where none is given. For Nietzsche, the man who follows only the herd may feel safe, but he slowly suffocates. The man who dares to step away will suffer, but through that suffering he has a chance to become more. This is what Nietzsche meant when he spoke of the overman, the one who creates his own values instead of inheriting them blindly. To walk a road few dare is to reject the easy script. It is to say, I will carry the burden of defining my own life. And that decision comes with a cost: loneliness, doubt, the sharp sting of other people's judgment. Nietzsche did not hide this cost. He insisted on it. Pain is not proof that you are lost, he said. Pain is the sign that you are in the process of transformation. To love that fate, to embrace it fully, is what he called amor fati, the love of one's fate. So when a man like John wakes each day in the quiet of his small house, wondering if he has made a mistake, Nietzsche would answer, this is the price of walking your own road. And it is also the possibility of becoming something more than you were before. Not every man will choose this road. Most stay with the herd, and in truth, there is no shame in that. But there is a certain kind of man who cannot help it. For him, the safe path feels like slow death. These are the men Nietzsche was speaking to, and they tend to appear in a few recognizable forms. The first is the creator. He might be an artist, a writer, or a builder of businesses. He is the man who looks at the world as it is and cannot resist shaping it into something new. His signs are easy to spot. He works late into the night when others have gone to bed. He pours himself into projects that make no sense to accountants but burn with meaning to him. And his pain is sharp. Rejection, financial struggle, the constant whisper from loved ones asking when he will get serious. If you have ever sat alone with your work, wondering why no one else sees what you see, you may know this pain. The second is the moral rebel. This is the man who cannot keep silent when he sees hypocrisy, corruption, or cruelty. He may be a whistleblower at work, a soldier who refuses an order, or simply the one at the dinner table who refuses to nod along. His signs are clear. He gets labeled difficult. He loses promotions. Friends drift away. The pain he carries is isolation, the sense that truth has made him an exile in his own circle. Have you ever spoken a truth that cost you your place? Then you know his road. The third is the innovator, the explorer of new ways. He might launch a company, attempt a risky invention, or push into untested ground. His signs include constant rejection, endless trial and error, and more failure than success. His pain is the weight of collapse, bankruptcy, skepticism, the sting of hearing no 100 times. If you have ever risked everything on an idea and faced only silence in return, you have walked with him. The fourth is the ascetic overcomer. This is the man who chooses difficulty not because he must, but because he believes hardship shapes him. He wakes early for discipline. He denies himself comfort others call normal. He fasts, he trains, he sets rules no one else will follow. His pain is the judgment of others. They call him extreme, obsessed, sometimes even insane. If you have ever chosen to make your life harder on purpose, believing it would make you stronger, you have tasted this road. And then there is a fifth, the meaning seeker. He is not always dramatic. Sometimes he is the quiet man who looks around at his comfortable life and feels only emptiness. He begins searching not for money or applause, but for significance. His signs are subtle: long walks alone, shelves of books that promise answers, conversations that drift toward deeper questions others avoid. His pain is the ache of futility, the sense that nothing offered by society satisfies his hunger. If you have ever felt that life should mean more than survival, you stand among them. These 5 figures are not rare archetypes from old books. They are men alive today, perhaps men listening now. Some of you are creators, some rebels, some innovators, some ascetics, some seekers. Each carries a pain that feels private, but in truth it is shared. Nietzsche believed that these pains are not signs of weakness. They are the marks of men who have stepped off the common road. So the question becomes, what exactly makes their road so hard? Why is walking where few dare filled with such suffering? Nietzsche answered this too, and he named the dangers that strike almost every man who chooses this path. When Nietzsche spoke of men who walk uncommon roads, he never promised glory. He promised pain, not the shallow pain of inconvenience, but the deep kind that tests your spirit. He described 3 forms of suffering that almost always appear when you step away from the herd. The first is exile. To choose your own way is to be cast out of the group. This is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is subtle. A man speaks his truth, and the invitations stop coming. A colleague stands apart and promotions vanish. Friends who once called every weekend now call less until they stop calling at all. Exile stings because we are wired for belonging. To be cut from the tribe feels like death, and yet this is the price of living by your own compass. Think of the rebel who refuses to play along with corruption. He may save his soul, but he loses his seat at the table. If you have ever been quietly frozen out, you know this pain. The second is the void. Nietzsche warned that once you step off the common road, you also step away from the ready-made meanings society provides. Success, retirement, reputation, those scripts no longer guide you. At first, there is freedom, then comes emptiness. Many men fall into nihilism here, the feeling that nothing matters, that all effort is pointless. Picture the artist who pours himself into a work no one values. The father who leaves a career only to find himself staring at long days with no clear aim. The void swallows not just his plans, but his sense of worth. Nietzsche knew this abyss well. He wrote, "If you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss gazes also into you." It is a warning and a truth. If you leave the herd, you must be ready to build meaning from nothing. The third is the burden. Once you step onto your own road, there is no one else to blame. The herd gives cover. If you follow their script and it fails, at least you were doing what everyone else did. But when you walk alone, every mistake, every failure, every collapse is yours to carry. The entrepreneur whose business goes under, the seeker whose family falls apart, the man who trains his body to the edge and breaks it, all must face the same truth. No excuses, no safety net. This weight is crushing, but it is also clarifying. Nietzsche believed that the man who can carry it begins to transform. Exile, the void, the burden. Three pains that visit nearly every man who dares to step away from the crowd. And yet, Nietzsche did not describe them to frighten us back into conformity. He described them because he believed there was something on the other side, that these very pains, if embraced and mastered, could become the raw material of strength. The question is, how? How does a man take exile and turn it into solitude that sharpens him? How does he take the void and turn it into a canvas for new meaning? How does he carry the burden without collapsing under it? Nietzsche's answer was a single idea that runs through all his work: self-overcoming. The act of not just surviving pain, but using it to rise beyond what you were before. Nietzsche did not believe men should run from pain. He believed pain was proof that life was alive within you. But pain alone is not enough. Left untreated, it can break a man, drive him into bitterness or despair. What Nietzsche offered was a way to meet pain head-on, to turn it into the steel of transformation. He called it self-overcoming. Self-overcoming is not a single step. It is a process, a discipline, a way of life. Nietzsche described it in different words across his writings, but the shape is clear. 3 stages. The first stage is recognition, what he called amor fati, the love of one's fate. Most men fight their pain. They deny it, complain about it, or look for someone to blame. Nietzsche demanded something harder. He said, embrace it. Do not just accept your suffering. Love it. To love your fate is to say, this pain is mine and I will not trade it for another life. One way to test this is through what Nietzsche called the eternal recurrence. Imagine you must live your life again and again, down to the smallest detail for all eternity. Would you say yes to it? Would you still choose the road you have taken, knowing every wound it brings? If your answer is no, then perhaps you are still running from your fate. If your answer is yes, even through trembling lips, then you have begun the work of self-overcoming. The second stage is discipline of the will. Nietzsche saw the will to power as the deep drive to rise, to create, to overcome. But without discipline, will becomes chaos. The man who walks a hard road must train himself like an athlete of the spirit. This means choosing voluntary hardship, cold mornings, honest solitude, saying no when it is easier to say yes. If society builds comfort as a cage, then discipline breaks the bars. Try it for yourself. Cut away a small comfort each day for a week. Fast from the noise of social media. Sit in silence for an hour without distraction. Take a cold shower. Refuse to explain yourself. Each act may feel small, but together they forge resilience. Nietzsche would say, you are teaching your will to obey you, instead of letting it be tossed by moods and fears. The third stage is creation and affirmation of values. To step off the herd's road means you must build your own. Otherwise, the void swallows you. Nietzsche warned that tearing down old values without creating new ones leads only to emptiness. The man of self-overcoming writes his own law. He asks, what principles will I live by even if no one else honors them? What rules will I keep when no one is watching? Then he lives them out day after day until they become his spine. One practice is to write a manifesto of 5 values you will carry. Not vague slogans, but concrete commitments. Share them with a trusted friend. Test them for 90 days, then return to them and ask, do they hold? This act turns pain into proof. The exile becomes solitude. The void becomes creation. The burden becomes responsibility carried with pride. Self-overcoming is not glamorous. It is not applause or headlines. It is a man alone, facing his life honestly, refusing to collapse. But Nietzsche believed this was the highest form of life. Not survival, not comfort, transformation. So when you feel the sting of exile, the emptiness of the void, or the crushing weight of responsibility, remember Nietzsche's command. Do not curse it, do not run, love it, discipline it, shape it into something new. This is the work of the man who dares to walk a road few will ever take. Nietzsche believed philosophy was not meant to stay in books. It was meant to be lived. So here are practices that bring his words into your days. First, test yourself with the eternal recurrence. Once a week, review a choice you have made. A job you keep, a habit you hold, a relationship you maintain. Then ask, if I had to live this exact choice for eternity, would I still say yes? If you hesitate, you have found where your life is out of alignment with your own truth. Second, practice voluntary hardship. Nietzsche saw comfort as a slow poison. Each day, strip away one layer of ease on purpose. Walk instead of drive. Eat less than you want. Speak a difficult truth instead of staying silent. Do not do it to impress anyone. Do it to remind yourself that strength is forged, not given. Third, create a value journal. At the end of each day, write down one moment when you acted according to your own values and one moment when you betrayed them. No excuses, no hiding. Over weeks, a map of your true character appears. That map shows where you are living as your own man and where you are still chained to the herd. Fourth, use solitude as training, not escape. Take 30 minutes once or twice a week, no devices, no distractions, and sit with your own thoughts. Most men run from silence because it confronts them with emptiness. Nietzsche saw that confrontation as necessary. Only in solitude do you begin to hear the faint voice of your real will. Fifth, build a small creation ritual. Each week, produce one thing that carries your imprint, an idea written, a skill practiced, a piece of work shaped by your own hands. It does not need to succeed. The act itself is a declaration. I am not just consuming life, I am creating it. These are not gimmicks. They are weapons against the slow decay of comfort and conformity. Carried daily, they shape a man who does not just endure his pain, but uses it, who does not just walk a hard road, but knows why he walks it. When a man begins to walk a road few dare, he soon discovers another difficulty. Not only must he face his own pain, he must also face the reactions of others. Speak too boldly, and you may be dismissed, ridiculed, or attacked. Stay completely silent, and you risk living as a stranger in your own home. Nietzsche knew this tension well. The answer is not to shout at the world, nor to hide forever, but to reveal yourself with care. Think of it as gradual revelation. You do not have to declare your entire philosophy in one speech. Instead, take it step by step. Begin by asking permission. I have an idea I am working on. Do you want to hear it? If they say yes, share a piece, not the whole vision. Frame it as an experiment. I am trying this for 90 days to see what it teaches me. Offer a benefit they can understand. This might help us save money, or it might make me a better father, or it could improve our work. Then listen, notice their reaction. If it turns hostile, withdraw with grace. If it shows curiosity, share more in time. This is not weakness, it is strategy. Nietzsche warned that truth often crushes those unprepared to receive it. The wise man does not throw his entire soul before the crowd. He releases it in measures protecting both himself and the path he has chosen. History offers us examples of men who dared to leave the safe road, and their lives show both the cost and the reward of doing so. Take Henry David Thoreau. In the mid-1800s, he walked away from society's script and lived alone in a cabin by Walden Pond. He chose simplicity over comfort, solitude over society. His neighbors called him strange, even useless. Yet out of that isolation came words that still shape how we think about freedom and authenticity. Thoreau paid in loneliness, but his exile gave birth to a vision that continues to guide restless men today. Then consider Ernest Shackleton, the Antarctic explorer. He chose a path almost no one dared, leading men across frozen seas where failure meant death. His expeditions often ended in disaster, but what made him legendary was not comfort or safety. It was his ability to endure the impossible and lead his men through it. Shackleton shows us that the uncommon road will break your body, drain your strength, and yet reveal a capacity you never knew you had. And we must not forget the cautionary tales. Friedrich Nietzsche himself serves here. He chose solitude, refused compromise, and poured his life into work few understood. But the price was devastating. Years of sickness, mental collapse, and an end spent in silence while others spoke for him. His story warns us, the road can give birth to timeless ideas, but it can also consume the man who carries them. These lives are not here to scare you away. They are here to strip away illusions. To walk roads few dare is never easy, never simple, never guaranteed. But they remind us of a deeper truth. Men who endure exile, suffering, and burden may lose comfort, yet they gain something the herd will never touch. A life lived on their own terms. Every road has traps, and the uncommon road is no different. Nietzsche admired the courage it takes to walk alone, but he also warned of the dangers that can undo a man if he is not careful. There are 4 in particular. The first is inflation of the ego. When a man breaks free from the herd, it is easy to believe he is superior to everyone else. That pride can blind him, turn strength into arrogance, and cut him off from the very humility needed to grow. The cure is simple but difficult. Keep a critic close, someone who tells you the truth even when it hurts. The second is withdrawal. The exile of the herd can harden into bitterness. A man can retreat so far into himself that he stops contributing, stops connecting, and becomes a ghost among the living. To avoid this, choose one act of service each week, no matter how small, that connects your path to others. The third is martyrdom. Some men confuse walking the hard road with destroying themselves on purpose. They sacrifice without thought, bleed without strategy, and wear their pain like a badge. Nietzsche would call this a waste. The uncommon road is not about needless suffering, but about shaping yourself through chosen trials. The remedy is boundaries, saying yes to hardship that builds, no to suffering that only breaks. The fourth is collapse from overwhelm. To carry the burden alone can crush even the strongest. Burnout, breakdown, despair. The way forward is rhythm, deliberate rest, regular reflection, and the courage to pause before the weight shatters you. These pitfalls are real. Ignore them and the road will eat you alive. Face them, and each danger becomes another chance for self-overcoming. If pitfalls are the dangers, then what does progress look like? Nietzsche believed transformation was not a single leap, but a series of stages, each demanding more than the last. You can think of it as a roadmap, a way to measure where you are on the journey. The first stage is recognition. This is when a man sees clearly that the herd's path is not his own. He may not yet know his destination, but he knows he cannot keep pretending. The pain here is confusion, but the breakthrough is honesty. The second stage is discipline. Having stepped off the common road, he begins to train his will. Small acts of hardship, deliberate choices, daily rituals that build strength. This stage is marked not by applause, but by consistency. The third stage is creation. Now the man begins to shape values and projects that are truly his. A manifesto of principles, a body of work, a way of living that reflects his chosen path. The pain here is responsibility, but the reward is meaning. The fourth stage is legacy. He no longer asks only how to survive, but what he will leave behind. Influence, example, a trace of courage for others to follow. He walks the hard road not only for himself, but for those who may dare after him. This roadmap is not fixed in time. Some men take decades, others move faster. But knowing the stages helps you see that pain is not random. It is the marker that you are moving forward. The pain of walking roads few dare is real. Exile, the void, the heavy burden, these are not signs of failure. They are the cost of refusing to live by someone else's script. Nietzsche never promised that the uncommon road would be easy. He promised that it would be the only road where transformation is possible. So if you find yourself doubting, if you wake in the night and ask whether you have ruined everything, remember this: pain is not the enemy. Pain is the proof that you are in the process of becoming. To love your fate, to shape your will, to create values that are yours alone. This is what it means to walk the hard road. The question now is not whether the road hurts. The question is whether you will use that hurt to rise. Try the practice this week. Test one choice with the eternal recurrence. Ask yourself if you would live it 1,000 times over. Write your answer down. Then share in the comments. Which of the three pains, exile, the void, or the burden, speaks most to your life right now? Your story may be the mirror another man needs.